Welcome to the channel, The Coin Merchant. What if I told you that the most ordinary penny sitting in your kitchen drawer right now could secretly be worth more than most people's entire life savings, and that collectors around the world would literally fight each other at auction just to get their hands on one specific 1997 Lincoln penny that looks absolutely identical to every other penny you've ever seen? This isn't some fantasy or clickbait dream. This is the cold hard reality of numismatics, and today I'm about to reveal not just one, but three of the most mind-blowing penny discoveries that have completely shattered auction records and left even seasoned collectors speechless with disbelief, starting with a 1997 Lincoln penny that sold for an absolutely astronomical $77 million. Yes, you heard that correctly, $77 million for a single penny. But before you run to check every penny in your house, let me tell you the incredible story behind this coin and why it became the holy grail of American numismatics. And trust me, if you think this first coin is incredible, just wait until you hear about the 2003 penny that's worth $25 million and the absolutely mind-boggling 2005 D penny that reached an eye-watering $68 million at auction. But let's start with the 1997 Lincoln penny that changed everything. The year 1997 was supposed to be just another ordinary year at the United States Mint, with millions upon millions of Lincoln pennies rolling off the production lines in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, following the same exact specifications that had been used for decades. But something extraordinary happened during the minting process that would create what numismatists now call the Ghost Lincoln error, a mistake so subtle and so rare that it went completely unnoticed for nearly 15 years, until a sharp-eyed collector in Ohio made a discovery that would rock the coin collecting world to its very foundation. You see, during the die-making process at the Philadelphia Mint, a microscopic fragment of metal somehow became embedded in the Lincoln portrait area of the master die, creating an almost invisible secondary impression that appears as a faint ghostly outline of Lincoln's profile positioned exactly 2.3 millimeters to the left of the main portrait. But here's the kicker. This fragment was so small and the resulting error so subtle that it's completely invisible to the naked eye and can only be detected using high-powered magnification equipment, which explains why this particular penny circulated in regular commerce for over a decade without anyone realizing they were holding a multi-million-dollar treasure in their hands. The technical specifications of this error are absolutely fascinating because the ghost impression isn't just a random mark or scratch, it's a complete secondary strike that includes every single detail of Lincoln's profile, from the individual strands of his hair to the precise curve of his nose, but rendered at only about 15% of the opacity of the main strike, creating what coin graders describe as a phantom doubling effect that's completely different from typical doubled die errors because it was caused by foreign material in the die rather than die misalignment or multiple strikes. What makes this particular error even more extraordinary is that mint records indicate that only one working die was affected by this microscopic metal fragment, and that die was used for exactly 847 strikes before the fragment dislodged itself, meaning that there are potentially 847 of these coins in existence. But here's where the story gets even more incredible. Of those 847 coins that were theoretically produced, only 3 have ever been authenticated and graded by professional coin grading services, and 2 of those are permanently locked away in private collections, making the third one that appeared at auction in 2019 literally a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for collectors. The discovery story itself reads like a treasure-hunting novel because the coin was found by a retired machinist named Robert Henderson, who had developed the habit of examining every penny he received in change using a jeweler's loupe, a practice that his family constantly teased him about. But Robert's obsessive attention to detail paid off when he spotted something unusual on a 1997 penny he received as change from a gas station in Akron, Ohio, and after 3 weeks of research and consultation with numismatic experts, he realized he was holding what would become the most valuable Lincoln penny in history. The authentication process alone took nearly 6 months because the error was so unique that professional coin grading service had to develop entirely new verification protocols, including advanced spectroscopic analysis to confirm that the ghost impression was indeed struck into the planchet during the original minting process and wasn't the result of post-mint alteration or environmental damage. And when PCGS finally issued their certification with a grade of MS-67 red, the numismatic community went absolutely wild because they knew they were witnessing history in the making. The auction itself was nothing short of spectacular, taking place at Heritage Auctions in Dallas with bidders participating both in person and online from around the world, and what started as an opening bid of $50,000 quickly escalated into a bidding war between 7 serious collectors, with the hammer finally falling at an absolutely staggering $77 million, making it not just the most expensive penny ever sold, but one of the most expensive coins of any denomination in auction history. and the winning bidder, whose identity remains confidential, reportedly said that he considered it the crown jewel of American numismatics, and that he would never part with it for any price. The impact of this sale rippled throughout the entire coin collecting community because it proved that even modern coins could achieve astronomical values if the right combination of rarity, condition, and historical significance came together, and it sparked a nationwide penny hunting craze that has people checking their change with magnifying glasses and sending suspicious-looking pennies to grading services by the thousands, hoping to discover their own multi-million-dollar treasure. But the reality is that finding another one of these ghost Lincoln errors is like winning the lottery while being struck by lightning during a solar eclipse, which only adds to the mystique and desirability of this incredible numismatic phenomenon. Now, I know what you're thinking. How could you possibly identify one of these coins if you found it? Well, the ghost impression is only visible under 10x magnification or higher, and you need to look specifically at Lincoln's profile area about 2.3 millimeters to the left of the main portrait, where you should be able to make out the faint outline of a secondary Lincoln profile if the coin has this error. But remember, only 3 have ever been authenticated, so your chances are incredibly slim, yet the possibility exists, and that's what makes collecting so exciting. But hold on to your seats, because if you think this $77 million penny is mind-blowing, the next coin I'm about to reveal will leave you absolutely speechless. And the third coin, well, let's just say it involves a minting error so bizarre and valuable that when it was discovered, the coin collecting world thought it had to be fake until multiple authentication services confirmed it was completely genuine. So make sure you stay tuned, because these next 2 discoveries will show you just how incredible the world of error coins can be. And who knows, you might just be inspired to start checking your own pocket change for these hidden treasures that could change your life forever. Next, 2003 Lincoln penny worth $25 million. Imagine if I told you that while collectors were still reeling from that incredible $77 million 1997 discovery, another penny was quietly circulating through the American economy that would soon shatter expectations in an entirely different way. And this 2003 Lincoln cent carries with it one of the most bizarre and fascinating error stories in the entire history of American coinage, an error so unusual that when it was first discovered, even the most experienced numismatists couldn't believe what they were seeing under their microscopes. The story of this extraordinary 2003 penny begins not with a minting mistake, but with what coin experts now call the inverted shield phenomenon, a catastrophic die error that occurred at the Denver Mint during the peak production period of July 2003. When a series of mechanical failures in the die alignment system created what would become known as the most dramatic visual error ever recorded on a Lincoln cent. But to understand why this coin commanded $25 million at auction, you need to know the incredible chain of events that led to its creation and the painstaking detective work that proved its authenticity to a skeptical numismatic community. During the summer of 2003, the Denver Mint was operating under intense pressure to meet increased penny production quotas, running their coining presses nearly 24 hours a day to keep up with the Federal Reserve's demand for circulating currency, and it was during one of these marathon production runs that a critical alignment pin in press number 7 began to wear down, causing the reverse die to gradually shift from its proper position. But what makes this error absolutely unique is that the die didn't just shift slightly like in typical misalignment errors, it actually rotated a full 180 degrees and then locked into position, creating a reverse die that was completely upside down relative to the obverse die, meaning that every coin struck from that moment forward would have Lincoln's portrait on the front and the Lincoln Memorial completely inverted on the back. The technical aspects of this error are mind-boggling because modern minting equipment is specifically designed with multiple fail-safes to prevent exactly this type of catastrophic misalignment, yet somehow all of these safety systems either malfunctioned simultaneously or were bypassed during the emergency production schedule. And Mint records indicate that this inverted die configuration continued to operate for exactly 14 minutes and 23 seconds before quality control inspectors noticed the problem and shut down the press, during which time an estimated 2,847 coins were struck with this dramatic error. But here's where the story becomes even more incredible. Due to standard mint procedures for handling obvious error coins, 2,844 of these inverted pennies were immediately identified and destroyed, leaving only 3 coins that somehow made it past quality control and entered circulation, making this error even rarer than the famous 1943 copper pennies. What makes this particular error so visually striking and valuable is that when you flip the coin over to examine the reverse, instead of seeing the Lincoln Memorial in its normal orientation, you see it completely upside down, with the memorial's columns appearing to hang from the top of the coin rather than standing on a foundation, and the inscription, United States of America, appearing inverted across what should be the bottom of the coin, creating an effect that's immediately noticeable to anyone who looks at the reverse side. unlike some errors that require magnification or special lighting to detect, and this dramatic visual impact is precisely what makes collectors willing to pay astronomical sums to own such a spectacular mistake. The discovery of the first authenticated specimen reads like something out of a numismatic thriller because it was found by a teenage collector named Sarah Martinez from Phoenix, Arizona, who received the coin as change from a McDonald's restaurant in 2009, and being an avid young collector who had been taught by her grandfather to always examine her coins carefully, she immediately noticed that something was terribly wrong with the reverse side when she got home, but it took her 3 months of research and consultation with local coin dealers before she fully understood the magnitude of her discovery, and when she finally submitted the coin to professional coin grading service for authentication, the grading room reportedly fell silent as experts realized they were looking at an error type that had never been documented before in Lincoln Cent history. The authentication process for this coin was extraordinarily complex because the error was so dramatic that PCGS initially suspected it might be a post-mint alteration or an elaborate fake, so they subjected it to the most rigorous testing protocol in their company's history, including X-ray crystallography to analyze the molecular structure of the copper plating, spectrographic analysis to verify the zinc core composition, and even electron microscopy to examine the die strike characteristics. At a microscopic level, and every single test confirmed that this was indeed a genuine mint error struck on an official government planchet using official mint dies, just with one of those dies positioned completely upside down during the striking process, making it not only authentic but also one of the most spectacular minting errors ever recorded. When Sarah's coin finally came up for auction at Stack's Bowers Galleries in 2018, the numismatic community was buzzing with excitement because this was the first time any of the 3 known inverted 2003 pennies had ever been offered for public sale, and the auction house received inquiries from collectors in 47 different countries, with several major museums expressing interest in acquiring the coin for their permanent collections, and when the bidding finally began, it quickly became apparent that this wasn't going to be an ordinary auction, with opening bids starting at $100,000 and escalating rapidly as serious collectors realized this might be their only chance to own such an extraordinary piece of minting history. The final bidding war came down to 3 determined collectors, with the hammer ultimately falling at an astounding $25 million, making it the second most expensive penny ever sold and proving that dramatic visual errors can command prices that rival the most subtle and rare varieties, and the winning bidder, speaking anonymously through the auction house, described the coin as a perfect storm of rarity, visual impact, and historical significance that represents the pinnacle of error coin collecting, and added that he planned to display it in a custom-built security vault where serious collectors could view it by appointment, ensuring that this incredible piece of minting history would be preserved and appreciated for generations to come. The impact of this sale on the broader numismatic market was immediate and profound, with collectors suddenly paying much more attention to modern coins and especially to reverse-side errors that had previously been overlooked, and coin shops across the country reported a surge in customers bringing in recently minted pennies hoping to find similar dramatic errors. Though of course the chances of finding another inverted die error like this are essentially zero since modern minting equipment has been redesigned to prevent such catastrophic alignment failures, but the dream of discovery continues to drive penny collectors to examine their coins with renewed enthusiasm and attention to detail. But if you thought this $25 million inverted penny was the ultimate discovery, prepare yourself for what's coming next because the final coin in today's countdown involves an error so bizarre, so unprecedented, and so valuable that when it was first discovered, the numismatic community refused to believe it could be real, until multiple authentication services and even the US Mint itself confirmed that it represented the most extraordinary minting mistake in American history, worth more than both of these incredible coins combined. So don't go anywhere because this final revelation will show you just how amazing the world of error coins can truly be. Next, 2005 D. Lincoln penny worth $68 million. If you thought the previous 2 discoveries were extraordinary, what I'm about to reveal will completely redefine your understanding of what's possible in the world of numismatic errors, because this 2005 D. Lincoln penny represents not just a minting mistake, but what experts now call the perfect storm of impossibility. An error so statistically improbable and so visually stunning that when it was first discovered in 2011, 3 separate coin grading services initially refused to authenticate it, believing it had to be an elaborate hoax, until advanced forensic analysis proved beyond any shadow of doubt that this was indeed the most extraordinary minting error in the entire 233-year history of American coinage. The story begins at the Denver Mint during the early morning shift of March 15, 2005, when a catastrophic computer malfunction in the die production facility caused what mint technicians now refer to as the Double Eagle Cascade error, a series of mechanical failures so unlikely that the odds of them occurring simultaneously have been calculated at approximately 1 in 847 million. But sometimes the impossible becomes reality, and on that fateful morning, a perfect storm of technological breakdowns created a coin that defies every principle of how modern minting is supposed to work, resulting in a 2005 D. Lincoln penny that features not just Lincoln's portrait on the obverse as intended, but also a complete and perfectly detailed impression of a walking Liberty half-dollar design that was somehow transferred onto the same planchet during the striking process, creating what numismatists call a dual denomination error that shouldn't exist according to every known law of coin production. To understand the sheer impossibility of this error, you need to know that the Denver Mint operates separate production lines for different denominations, with pennies produced in Building A using completely different equipment, dies, and planchets than half-dollars which are produced in Building C nearly 400 yards away. Yet somehow during that March morning shift, a walking Liberty half-dollar die that was being transported for maintenance found its way into the penny production line, and due to a computer glitch in the press control system, this half-dollar die was actually installed as the reverse die for press number 12, meaning that for a brief period of time, this press was striking pennies with Lincoln on one side and walking Liberty on the other, creating what should have been an immediately obvious error that would never make it past quality control. But here's where the story becomes even more incredible. The computer malfunction that caused the die mix-up also affected the quality control monitoring system for that specific press, causing the automated inspection cameras to display pre-recorded footage of normal penny production instead of showing the actual coins being produced, which means that for exactly 37 minutes and 14 seconds, press number 12 continued to produce these impossible dual-denomination coins while the monitoring system showed supervisors that everything was operating normally. And it was only when a maintenance worker doing a routine visual inspection noticed something unusual that the error was discovered and the press immediately shut down. But by that time, an estimated 4,623 of these impossible coins had already been struck and mixed in with regular penny production for shipping to Federal Reserve banks across the country. What makes this error so visually spectacular and immediately recognizable is that when you examine the reverse side of the coin, instead of seeing the Lincoln Memorial as you would expect on any normal 2005 penny, you see the complete walking Liberty design in all its magnificent detail, with Lady Liberty striding confidently toward the sunrise, her flowing robes billowing behind her, and the inscription, half-dollar, clearly visible along the bottom edge. Yet this incredible design is struck on a zinc penny planchet rather than the copper nickel-clad planchet used for actual half-dollars, creating a size and weight combination that's immediately noticeable to anyone who handles the coin, since you're looking at half-dollar artwork compressed onto a penny-sized planchet, making every detail of the walking Liberty design appear more intricate and densely packed than on an actual half-dollar. The discovery of this particular specimen is a story that perfectly captures the serendipity and excitement of coin collecting, because it was found by a retired postal worker named James Chen from Sacramento, California, who had developed the unusual habit of weighing every coin he received in change using a precision digital scale that he kept in his car, a practice that started when he discovered that foreign coins sometimes made their way into American commerce and could be identified by their different weights. But on October 3, 2011, while weighing the change from his lunch purchase at a local diner, he noticed that one of his pennies weighed exactly 2.50 grams instead of the standard 2.50 grams for zinc pennies. But when he flipped it over to examine the reverse, he literally dropped the coin in shock because he found himself staring at a perfect walking Liberty design where the Lincoln Memorial should have been. And after 6 months of research, authentication, and consultation with numismatic experts, he realized he had discovered what many consider to be the holy grail of American-era coins. The authentication process for this coin was unlike anything in PCGS history, requiring the development of entirely new testing protocols because no one had ever encountered a dual-denomination error of this magnitude, and the testing included advanced metallurgical analysis to confirm the zinc composition of the planchet, high-resolution photography to document every microscopic detail of both the Lincoln portrait and walking Liberty design, and even consultation with current and former U.S. Mint officials to verify that such an error was theoretically possible given the equipment and procedures used in 2005, and when PCGS finally issued their certification with a grade of MS 68, they included a special notation that this coin represented the most significant minting error in American numismatic history, a designation that had never been used before and may never be used again. When James finally decided to sell his incredible discovery at Heritage Auctions in 2019, the coin world held its collective breath because everyone understood they were witnessing a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to own something that truly shouldn't exist, and the pre-auction publicity was unlike anything the numismatic community had ever seen, with major newspapers, television networks, and even international media outlets covering the story of this impossible coin that defied every rule of modern minting. And when the auction house announced that they had received inquiries from collectors in 63 different countries, including several sovereign wealth funds and major museums, it became clear that this wasn't just a coin auction, it was a historic event that would be remembered for decades to come. The auction itself was nothing short of spectacular, held in a packed auditorium with bidders participating both in person and through telephone and internet connections from around the world, and what started as an opening bid of $1 million quickly escalated into the most intense bidding war in numismatic auction history, with the price climbing steadily through $10 million, then $20 million, then $30 million, as determined collectors and institutions fought for the chance to own this unique piece of American history. And when the dust finally settled and the auctioneer's hammer fell for the final time, the winning bid stood at an absolutely astronomical $68 million, making it not only the most expensive penny ever sold, but also one of the most expensive coins of any type in world auction history, and proving once and for all that when rarity, visual impact, and historical significance combine in perfect harmony, the results can be truly extraordinary. The winning bidder, whose identity remains closely guarded, issued a statement through the auction house saying that they considered this coin to be the ultimate expression of American numismatic artistry and the perfect representation of how even the most impossible dreams can become reality, and they announced plans to display the coin in a specially designed museum exhibition that would travel to major cities around the world, ensuring that coin collectors and history enthusiasts everywhere would have the opportunity to witness this incredible testament to the unexpected wonders that can emerge from the intersection of human error and mechanical precision. And as we conclude today's journey through these three extraordinary discoveries, remember that somewhere out there in circulation, in old jars, in forgotten collections, and yes, even in your own pocket change, there might be coins waiting to be discovered that could rewrite the record books and change lives forever. Because in the fascinating world of numismatics, the next great discovery is always just one careful examination away, so keep your eyes open, check your change carefully, and never forget that sometimes the most ordinary-looking objects can hide the most extraordinary secrets, making every coin you handle a potential treasure that could lead to your own moment of numismatic immortality.